Hello, Camilla Constance here. Today's video is a video that I'm calling the sexual basics that I want all young people to know. So whatever stage they're at, whatever kind of sex they're having, whatever sex they want to have, I really think that young people need to understand some foundationals as they start off on their sexual journey. And you as the parent have a responsibility because no one else is teaching them this stuff. No one else is telling them the sexual basics. No one else is talking to them about this. They're watching porn, which is an awful vehicle to learn how to have kind, connected, loving, curious, respectful sex. And they're learning it from gossip in the playground or down on the high street. They're not learning connected, kind, loving sex from anywhere other than you. So this is your role. And these are some basics that I think you need to cover in your home sex education. And yeah, by all means, grab hold of some of these books. There are awesome books available to help you teach your kids about sex and have these conversations about sex. What are the basics that I want my young people to know? So when I'm thinking about these videos, I'm thinking, so what are the conversations I'm having? What am I conveying to the young people in my family and their friends? What do I want young people around me to understand and know? So this is very much based on my experience and my reality, and I'm really happy to receive as much wisdom and experience from you, because that will help me communicate better to other people. So first of all, the first thing I want my daughter to know, and I want my son to know, is that the vagina is a muscle that is designed to make babies, i.e. receive a penis, and to then birth the babies. So like an umbrella, it's the most incredible muscle in the human body. Like an umbrella, it can open to really, really very big. And there is a horrendous myth that is perpetuated by the medical establishment as well as porn movies and everything. It is such a misunderstanding of the female body, and it is causing so much harm. The myth that says that the tight cunt, the tight vagina, is what is sought after and gives men the best experience is just a load of bullshit. It's bollocks. It's hideous. It causes damage to women. It causes damage to men. It shuts down human sexuality. It is wrong, 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 wrong. So please, as early as you can, communicate to your young people, to your children, that vaginas open when they're aroused. Vaginas become huge. They can open up. They can become massive, like our smiles. Like when we're happy, our mouths open and we smile, these huge big smiles. We're open mouthed. People who are unhappy, who are closed down, who are shut down, become tight-lipped, our jaws tense. It's exactly the same with the vagina, and in fact there's a nerve that connects the two. So the more open-mouthed we are, so French kissing, open-mouthed kissing, relaxes us. It literally opens our mouths, and as it opens our mouths, it opens our vaginas. And if our vaginas are not open, nothing should be pushed inside them. Fingers should not be pushed inside. Dildos should not be pushed inside. Cocks should not be pushed inside. Nothing should ever be pushed inside a vagina. A vagina is an incredibly powerful, but also an incredibly vulnerable and sensitive part of the female body. And when she is treated with respect, last week's video, and kindness, last week's video, and her pleasure is paramount, last week's video, when she has pleasure, when she's experiencing pleasure, she's going to open, she's going to flower, she's going to bloom. When she's treated with respect, she will have a genuine yes, and she'll become orgasmic. When she is treated with kindness, she knows that she's safe to say, I don't feel like it today. And that the person who's giving her pleasure will say, that's fine, we'll do something different. It's so foundational to understand that vaginas don't necessarily always want to play. They don't always feel sexual, and they have no responsibility to be sexual. A vagina does not have to open to please anybody. And vaginas can end up being very abused. They can get very shut down. So neuroscience is now showing the impact on the female brain of sex that is done without the vagina's consent, as it were. So the head can be saying, yes, I want to do this sex because I want to fit in, I want to be cool, I want to keep up with my friends, I want to get rid of my virginity, whatever. But if it's not in alignment with what the vagina is really feeling, that sex is going to be traumatic. That sex is going to shut down that young person way, way, way into her life. Now, I do not want either of my sons to cause any women damage by not understanding this. And I absolutely do not want my daughter's sexuality to be shut down because her early experiences of sex are against her vagina's will. So really, really important for all of my young people in my family to understand the power of the vagina, the fact that she really opens and she says yes please, and her yes please is really obvious. And if it's not an obvious yes please, then it's not an obvious yes please, so you don't carry on. And that this, as I've already said, you don't push into vaginas. Whatever you're putting, whether it's a tongue, a finger, a dildo, a cock, whatever you're putting into a vagina, you make the invitation. You make it gently. You can apply gentle pressure, and if she's wanting it, she will open. And if she's not opening, she doesn't really want it. Now, because of the conditioning, because of the programming, because of how much porn our young men have watched, they find this difficult to believe. So what I actually say to my son, I'll say, listen, if you're not ready to have a dildo shoved up your ass, don't you dare go shoving anything into a vagina. I mean, seriously, there has to be, young men have to understand that vaginal sex is vulnerable for women, particularly young women when it's their first time or an early experiences, and they have to think about their place of vulnerability on their bodies. And I often find it quite easy to compare the two. Obviously, they're not the same. Anuses are not designed to open in the same way that vaginas are. Yes, they can open, and yes, anal sex and anal penetration and anal play can be pleasurable. But again, I would talk with my young people and say, this is not what you do when you're a beginner. This is kind of like level 2, level 3 kind of sex. Don't involve yourselves in anal sex at the beginning. Don't do what so many young girls are doing as a way to avoid pregnancy. They're allowing unprotected sex in their anuses because this is convenient for boys. It's nice and tight for the men, and it's not going to get to pregnancy, and they can have sex without condoms without any consequences. This is dangerous. It's not kind. It's not respectful. It's almost certainly not pleasurable for both parties. My young people, or the young people in this family, and what I would invite your young people to do is, before they're engaging in sex with other people, is to really know the pleasure zones on their own body, to really understand pleasure zones on their own body, and to start to learn and understand pleasure zones on other people's body. You know, it's important for girls to understand the relative sensitivity of the balls, the perineum, the skin between the balls and the anus, for them to understand the sensitivity of the shaft and the glands and their very sensitive frenulum. It's really powerful to understand what turns a boy on. And equally, a boy needs to understand how to find a clitoris and what to do with a clitoris when he finds it, to not be heavy-handed and treat it like the shaft of his cock, because it's nothing like the shaft of his cock. It's so much more sensitive. So this is where he needs to learn to use a lubricated finger really lightly, or his tongue, to play with her, to bring her alive. Like, when he's equipped with this knowledge, when he actually understands this, when he's read the right books or had the right conversations with a really empowered, strong adult, he's going to be so much better equipped to give her pleasure. The final thing to say in talking about, this is my nuts and bolts video, is there's a resistance. It just exists, and it's a fact, and everyone just needs to grow up and understand that there's a resistance to wearing condoms, and young people are as vulnerable as any other age group on this. And it really matters. It really matters that our girls are protected and our boys are protected. We need to protect our young people and make condoms something that's just part of their lives. And I think both of them need to understand that if condoms aren't worn, then penetration shouldn't be going ahead. Now, there is so much sex you can have without penetration. There is so much pleasure both parties can have without having to worry about condoms. But if you're going to have penetration, there needs to be a condom on. And if there's going to be a condom on, then both people need to understand how to put that condom on. So I've done this with my daughter. We use my vibrator, but you could use a banana, you could use a cucumber, you can use a carrot, you can use whatever you like. But you show her how to take it out. You show her which way round it rolls. You show her how important it is that the teat is in the right position. You show her all this stuff. You play with it. Buy a packet, get it wrong, put it on the wrong way. See how when you roll it down and it's not on the right way, it doesn't work, so you just take it off and flip it over and roll it down the right way. Empower her, make it into a game, make it something fun. I would invite you to do the same with your son. Make it into something that they feel comfortable with, so that when they get to that point and they're in the heat of the moment. The condom is something that comes on automatically and very naturally. And then there is a safe container. Then both parties are going to be in a safe place to carry on exploring. But if there's not a condom, that sex is not particularly safe. It's not respectful, and I would argue it's not particularly kind. So let's equip our young people and show them how to get it right. And I think that's everything I have on my list. If there's anything that I've said that triggers you, that raises questions with you, that you want to discuss with me, you want to give me some feedback, please, more and more feedback. The more feedback I get, the better I can be. But if there's something you want to connect with and work with me on, please feel free to contact me. My website is www.camillaconstance.com, and you can find me on Facebook at Camilla Constance. So I hope that's been helpful. Everything I share, I intend to be helpful. I intend to raise questions. I intend to give you some ideas, some starting points, and always it's a dialogue. Get in contact with me. Take care. See you soon. Bye now.